$500 for the dress and another $500 for pretending to be my girlfriend for one evening, Ms. Hart. Consider it in advance. For a very special role." Ethan Walker's voice drifted through the quiet meditation space, light as a breeze, yet carrying a confident challenge. The offer hung in the air like the lingering sweetness of a deal that sounded almost too tempting to be real. Lily Hart paused mid-motor, her hand still resting on a row of acrylic paints neatly arranged on a handcrafted wooden shelf. She looked up, meeting the gaze of the tall, sharply dressed man standing at the doorway. His navy suit, perfectly tailored, caught the afternoon sun filtering through the large window. Ethan looked like he belonged in a high-rise boardroom, not among watercolor portraits, clay bowls, and the scent of lavender oil. She, on the other hand, lived in a world of calm tones and stillness. A certified art therapist and meditation instructor whose life moved to the rhythm of brushstrokes and breathing exercises. The contrast between them was stark and somehow magnetic. "I'm not an actress," Lily said evenly, her voice soft yet unwavering, like water that carves through stone. "And I don't rent my time for social performances." Ethan took a step forward, his eyes fixed on hers. "There's no script, no illusions. I simply need someone to accompany me to my sister's wedding. One evening, one role. No strings, no expectations." Lily crossed her arms, studying him carefully. The advanced art therapy retreat in Kyoto floated through her mind, a dream she'd nurtured for years but never quite afforded. And now, this strange, almost cinematic proposition could be the key. "You're serious? One night pretending to be your girlfriend, someone I barely know?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. A small, amused smile played on her lips. "Sounds more like a Sunday night rom-com than reality." "Maybe," Ethan replied, with the faintest of smiles. "But I'm serious." Ethan Walker's office sat at the top floor of a sleek glass building in downtown Boulder. Late afternoon sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting golden streaks across scattered architectural drafts on a dark walnut desk. The space was minimalist, orderly, just like its owner, a man who had built his life on discipline, logic, and little room for distraction. He had just finished sketching a new design for a mountain eco-retreat when his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. "Grace." With a soft sigh, he answered, trying to sound neutral. "I knew you'd forget," Grace's voice chimed through, cheerful with a touch of mischief. "My wedding's next weekend, and yes, before you say it, Mom told me to call." "Grace?" Ethan leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temple. "I know. It's marked in bright red on my calendar." "Good. So, have you made any plans? Please don't tell me you're showing up alone again." Silence. The pause stretched, and then Grace's tone shifted to something more sincere. "Ethan, you know how it goes. The relatives start asking questions, Mom gets anxious, and well, I may or may not have invited a few lovely friends who I think would suit you." Ethan closed his eyes. He could already picture the scene. Probing questions, awkward setups, pitiful smiles. At 38, a respected architect and property developer, he thought his achievements would shield him from all this. He was wrong. "Grace, I get it. It's just..." He hesitated, unsure how to explain that he was tired of being treated like a project needing to be fixed. "Just what?" she asked gently. "That you'll dodge it all again?" "No," Ethan said firmly. "I'll come. And I won't be coming alone." A pause. Then Grace's surprised voice. "Wait. You're actually dating someone?" "Sort of," Ethan muttered, absent-mindedly spinning a pencil between his fingers. "She's different." It wasn't a lie. Lily was different, in a way he couldn't quite define. Though this started as a hired arrangement, something about her made it feel like more than a temporary fix. "Wow," Grace chuckled. "Maybe Mom will finally stop signing you up for the church dating app." Ethan laughed, feeling lighter. But as the call ended, he remained by the window, watching the sun melt into the horizon behind the mountains. He needed a solution, a companion for one evening. No mess, no expectations, no strings. And then, as if on cue, he thought of Lily Hart, the woman with the calm eyes and the voice like wind through trees. On Saturday afternoon at exactly 3 p.m., Ethan Walker pulled his sleek charcoal Range Rover into a quiet apartment complex in South Boulder, where Lily Hart lived. His plan was simple: take her to a couple of modest boutiques on Pearl Street and help her pick out a suitable dress. Nothing too glamorous, nothing too bold, just enough to look presentable next to him without attracting too much attention. But just as he stepped out of the car, Lily opened the door to her apartment and appeared with a bright smile. "No need for shopping, Mr. Walker," she said, her voice light as a spring breeze. "I already have the perfect dress for tonight, and I can handle my own hair and makeup." Ethan paused, slightly caught off guard. In his mind, Lily still wore her high bun, oversized sweater, and soft cotton pants, someone who blended into the background effortlessly. He imagined the dress she had in mind would match that image: plain, muted, comfortable. "As long as you feel comfortable," he replied, keeping his tone neutral. "I'll pick you up at 6. The reception starts at 7. At exactly 6 p.m., Ethan returned. He rang the doorbell, an odd flutter of anticipation in his chest, a foreign feeling for someone who had attended more galas than he could count. Then the door opened, and Ethan froze. Lily, or perhaps a completely different version of her, stood before him. The sapphire silk gown shimmered softly under the warm hallway light. Its off-shoulder design embraced the gentle curves of her figure, highlighting her femininity in the most elegant way. Her hair flowed in soft, loose waves, nothing like her usual high bun. Her face was tastefully made up, just enough to accentuate her deep brown eyes and naturally rosy lips. No flashy jewelry, just delicate pearl earrings and a slim silver bracelet, each piece carefully chosen to complement her quiet grace. Ethan, a man familiar with glamorous women at extravagant events, found himself utterly speechless. "Mr. Walker?" Lily tilted her head, smiling gently. "Did I disappoint you?" "No, not at all," he managed, still unable to look away. You look incredible." Lily smiled, calm and quietly confident. "Thank you. I bought this dress a long time ago for a special occasion. I suppose tonight qualifies." All the way to the resort, Ethan remained somewhere between disbelief and admiration. He kept glancing sideways at the woman sitting beside him, not because she was a hired date, but because, for the first time in a long time, he felt proud to have someone by his side. Everything about Lily, her poise, her quiet intelligence, her understated beauty, made him want to know her more. Not for the role she was playing, but for who she truly was. The resort sat perched on a hillside, overlooking Colorado's vast valleys, where the sunset washed distant peaks in soft pink and gold. Strings of warm lights and delicate white baby's breath lined the entrance, giving everything the feel of a midsummer dream. Grace Walker's wedding, Ethan's sister, was just as he'd expected: elaborate, elegant, and filled with familiar faces from high society. Ethan stepped out of the car and circled around to open Lily's door. As she stepped out, the moment seemed to stretch. Sound fell away. The first people to spot them turned their heads, eyes wide. No one had expected the famously reserved Ethan Walker to show up with such a breathtaking woman. Lily walked beside him, her hand lightly resting on his arm, her presence a graceful blend of confidence and softness. Though this was meant to be just a role, she carried herself with genuine elegance. Her smile wasn't forced, her gaze wasn't unsure, just natural and luminous. As they entered the grand hall, where crystal chandeliers cast their glow across polished stone walls, murmurs began to ripple. Ethan kept his expression composed, but inside, something stirred. For the first time in years, he felt proud to introduce someone beside him, not just as a companion for the night, but as someone who felt real. Grace was the first to reach them, nearly speechless. "Oh my God, Ethan, who is she? I mean, I knew you said you had a date, but I didn't think—" "Grace, this is Lily Hart." Ethan smiled. "Lily, my sister, the bride." Lily took Grace's hand and offered a soft smile. "Congratulations on your beautiful day." She was soon greeted by Ethan's mother, a woman with a watchful eye and a warm but reserved demeanor. "You must be Lily. Ethan's been hiding you well. You're even more lovely and graceful than I imagined." Lily replied with calm sincerity. "Thank you, ma'am. Ethan tends to keep things private. I suppose I'm one of them." Throughout the evening, Lily didn't just play a role, she shone. She discussed Virginia Woolf with a literature professor, exchanged ideas with Ethan's colleagues about incorporating meditation spaces into modern home design, and even offered breathing techniques to a stressed-out businesswoman between wine sips. Each time Ethan glanced at her, he felt a deeper pull, not just admiration from afar, but something close, something grounding. "You're looking at her like this isn't just an act," a friend whispered as they stood at the bar. "Maybe it's not," Ethan replied, eyes still fixed on Lily. A classic waltz began to play. The lights dimmed. Ethan turned to her, a rare hesitancy in his voice. "Would you like to dance?" Lily met his gaze, her eyes catching the room's glow. "With you? I'd love to." They stepped onto the dance floor. Ethan's hand rested gently at her waist. Lily's found its place on his shoulder. At first, their steps were cautious, but within seconds, they found rhythm, as if they'd danced this dance many times before. The distance between them disappeared. The subtle scent of her hair, the warmth of his touch, the tenderness in their shared glance. Everything suspended time. Ethan looked deep into her eyes, and for one brief but honest moment, he forgot this had ever been an arrangement. He no longer wanted to pretend, he wanted it to be real. Soft morning light streamed into Ethan's penthouse, painting golden edges onto its sleek, modern surfaces. He sat at the kitchen island, fingers wrapped around a cup of coffee long gone cold, his mind drifting elsewhere, back to Lily's smile, the scent of her hair, and the warmth of her hand in his as they danced. He had been through countless high-stakes events, project launches, million-dollar deals, investor presentations, but none had left him this restless. One night. It was supposed to be just one night. So why did it feel like something had truly begun? He reached for his phone and opened his contacts. Lily Hart. His thumb hovered over her name, paused. Not to send her the remainder of the payment. They had agreed on it, and he had handed her the full amount the night before. This wasn't about business anymore. He tapped call. "Hi Lily, it's Ethan." Her voice came through just a second later, clear and soft, just as he remembered. "Hi Ethan, how are you this morning?" "Honestly, couldn't sleep," he said. "I think we need to debrief last night's project." Lily chuckled. "Debrief sounds more like we just wrapped up a military op than a wedding." "Maybe it felt that way," he replied, masking his nervousness. "Are you free for breakfast?" There was a pause. Then, "All right." A professional debrief. They met at a cozy cafe in South Boulder, one Lily frequented on weekends. It wasn't flashy or loud, just the smell of warm cinnamon waffles, roasted coffee, and soft jazz playing in the background. Ethan arrived early. He sat by the window, glancing at the clock more than he cared to admit. Lily arrived, dressed in jeans, a wide-necked sweater, and old sneakers, her hair tied in a neat bun. Yet the smile she brought with her made Ethan feel like he was meeting her for the very first time. "Sorry to keep you waiting." "It's all right, I didn't mind waiting." After ordering coffee, they sat in silence for a while. Not awkward silence, just something quietly full, like both were aware of something new taking shape between them. "Lily," Ethan began, meeting her eyes, "I know our agreement was for one night, and you played your part perfectly. I'm grateful for that." She tilted her head, smiling. But, he exhaled, "last night wasn't what I expected. You didn't just help me save face. You made me want to listen, want to know you, really know you." Lily remained quiet, clearly surprised, and perhaps a little overwhelmed. "I want to know who you are, not the woman in the silk dress, not the hired girlfriend, just Lily Hart, the woman who made me feel at peace for the first time in years. She bit her lip, her gaze shifting. Ethan, this is a lot. I don't know if I can answer that right now. I'm not asking you to, he said gently. I'm just asking for a real chance. She thought for a moment, then smiled. Soft, a little guarded, but open. Then maybe we should schedule another debrief. Wednesday night. I know a little Thai place around the corner. Ethan's eyes lit up. This time, no contract? She laughed. No contract. That Wednesday evening marked a new beginning. No more contracts, no more roles to play, just two people learning to see each other clearly without calculation or suspicion. Lily chose a small Thai restaurant tucked into a quiet corner of the city. The lighting was warm, soft jazz played from a corner stage, and the tables were close enough for whispered conversation. Ethan, in a rolled-up shirt and jeans, looked more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. He looked at her differently, too. Not like a man assessing risks, but like one genuinely curious and open. They talked, really talked, not about work or surface-level pleasantries, but about the real things. Ethan opened up about a childhood shaped by a demanding father and the constant pressure to succeed. Lily shared about losing her mother in her 20s and the years she spent healing on her own. Their dates unfolded effortlessly. An afternoon walk around Mirror Lake, a quiet Sunday morning at the Boulder Farmers Market, where Ethan bought kale for the first time without worrying if it was the right organic kind. They laughed, they listened. They weren't trying to impress. They were simply there for each other. Lily brought Ethan into her world, a space of stillness, healing, and emotion. They meditated in the park, painted together on her porch, and sometimes just lay in silence, reading mismatched books. Ethan let her into his world too. He took her to construction sites, showed her architectural lines he was proud of, and shared sketches no one else had seen. Lily didn't just listen, she understood. She saw through the polished developer into the quiet artist beneath. Their love grew slowly, like sunlight slipping through morning blinds, gentle but undeniable. But no path is without its shadows. One evening, Ethan invited Lily to a charity gala, her first public event in his world. It was hosted to support local education, filled with real estate elites, politicians, and financiers. Lily wore a simple black dress, her hair tied in a low bun, subtle, modest, and yet she still turned heads. That, unfortunately, also drew scrutiny. An older woman approached, Mrs. Thompson, the wife of a major donor. Her voice was sweet, almost sticky. "Oh, Lily, isn't it? I heard you're a yoga teacher." Such a light, relaxing job. Not quite the same pressure as running a development firm, is it? Lily froze momentarily, then smiled politely. "Actually, I work in art therapy, not just yoga." "Ah, yes, painting and meditation. Very soothing. I always told my daughter to find a job that doesn't come with stress." Ethan, standing nearby, heard every word. He stepped forward, placing a firm but gentle hand on Lily's back. A quiet, unmistakable gesture. "Mrs. Thompson," he said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, "I believe every profession holds value. Personally, I'm incredibly proud of what Lily does. She helps people find balance, heal, and breathe again. She's intelligent, compassionate, and deeper than anyone I've ever met, and that to me is extraordinary." The air tensed for a brief second. Mrs. Thompson blinked, gave a tight smile, and backed away. Lily turned to Ethan, eyes shining, not just with emotion, but with something deeper. Gratitude, respect, and maybe love. In the weeks that followed, their relationship grew stronger, more certain. They no longer hesitated to hold hands in public or exchange soft, knowing glances in crowded places. Lily invited Ethan over for dinner with her closest friends, a ceramicist and a vegan chef. To everyone's surprise, Ethan fit right in. He told stories, laughed freely, and even helped with the dishes without being asked. As they left, Lily's friend leaned in and whispered, "You sure you're not on contract with him anymore? because that man is smitten." Lily only smiled. Later, Ethan brought Lily to dinner at his mother's house, no longer as a temporary girlfriend, but as someone real. The evening held no drama beyond an overcooked roast chicken, but the look in Mrs. Walker's eyes had changed, from wary to warm, from polite to truly fond. They weren't pretending anymore. The fear of differences, the imagined expiration date, they were all gone. Now, there was only this: they were in love. Their love wasn't loud, but it was clear, like a quiet stream cutting through rock, never needing to shout to prove it was flowing. Each day, Ethan and Lily uncovered new corners of each other's lives, and in doing so, discovered more of themselves. One early autumn morning, with a gentle chill drifting from the Rockies, Lily awoke to find Ethan standing on the balcony, coffee in hand, gazing at the mist-covered peaks. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, wrapping her arms around his waist. Ethan turned, smiling. "I was thinking how some things in life arrive unexpectedly, but once they do, you can't imagine your life without them." Lily didn't answer. She just rested her head on his shoulder. She understood. No words were needed. A week later, Ethan invited her on a weekend drive, saying he wanted a little break from the city. Lily didn't ask many questions. Ever since Ethan entered her life, surprises had become something of a norm. The SUV wound its way along a quiet dirt road west of Boulder, leading to a field covered in late-season wildflowers, gold, white, violet, like a living canvas. Ethan stopped at an open stretch of land overlooking a valley with no fences, no structures, just a temporary sign staked into the ground, holding a printed architectural rendering. Lily stepped out and blinked at him. "This is..." Ethan took her hand and led her closer. "This is where I want to build a home. Not a project to sell. Not a display model. A real home. For me. And for you." She stood in silence, eyes scanning the design, a modern yet cozy two-story house with wide glass walls facing a garden. In the corner of the blueprint, one room was labeled Art Studio plus Meditation Space. "I designed it from everything you told me," he said softly. "A room full of natural light to paint in, a garden with lavender, a space quiet enough to hear your own breath." Lily turned to him, her eyes shimmering. Ethan smiled gently, then slowly knelt down. From his coat pocket, he pulled out a small velvet box, the same shade of blue as the dress she had worn at Grace's wedding. "Lily Hart," he began, voice unsteady. "I once thought hiring you as my girlfriend was just a way out of trouble, but it led me to the most important person in my life." He opened the box to reveal a ring, simple, elegant, a teardrop-shaped sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds that sparkled like stars. "You brought silence to my chaos, not by removing sound, but by bringing peace. You made me believe that not everything needs a plan. Sometimes we just need to believe. And I believe. In you. In us. Will you marry me?" Lily didn't respond right away. She looked at him, then bent down and wrapped him in the tightest hug. "Yes," she whispered into his ear, 1,000 times, yes. They held each other close, standing on the bare land where nothing had been built, yet everything important had begun. The autumn wind carried their promise into the horizon. A new beginning, born not from a contract, but from something real. From love. Weeks had passed since Ethan knelt on that hillside with a sapphire ring in hand. Now, the wind that once carried a question carried their laughter. Their dream home was still under construction, but the foundation of their love had long since been built. A few months later, on a bright early spring day, Ethan and Lily held a small wedding, simple, intimate, and full of meaning. They chose to marry right there on the land where their future home was taking shape. Surrounded by close friends, family, and golden Colorado sunlight, they said their vows. Grace, wearing a soft blue dress, was the first to give a speech. "When Ethan told me he was hiring a date for my wedding, I thought he was joking," she laughed. "But honestly, it was the best decision he ever made." Ethan's mother beamed with quiet joy. Once doubtful, She now saw Lily as her own daughter. Before the ceremony, she gently held Lily's hand and whispered, "Thank you for loving that stubborn boy with a softness I never thought possible." No one talked about the original contract anymore. It had become a humorous footnote in their love story, a ridiculous beginning that somehow led to something deeply real. Ethan and Lily spent their early months of marriage the same way they fell in love, simply, gently, and fully present. Every morning, Ethan brewed coffee for both of them, and Lily often left a short poem on the fridge. Sometimes it read, "The world's still chaos, but your eyes are not." On weekends, they hiked trails, cooked together, failed at baking bread, then laughed until their sides ached. There was no script, no performance, just life, shared fully and with love. Their home, once complete, became a living expression of that love. A sunlit living room, an art studio with twin easels, a lavender garden out back, and a wooden swing hung between two old oaks, where they'd sit in the evenings telling stories to one another. Lily was no longer the woman who hid behind simplicity, and Ethan was no longer the man who ran from emotions. They had learned to show up, not because the world demanded perfection, but because together they were whole. Whenever someone asked, "How did you two meet?" they would simply smile at each other, and Ethan would say, "I hired her, but in the end, there wasn't a price I could afford." And Lily would take his hand and add, "Love doesn't have to start perfectly, it just needs room to become something extraordinary." Love doesn't need a perfect beginning. With enough honesty and courage, even something pretend can become the most beautiful reality.